Hi everybody and welcome to week 3. I just wanted to touch base and give a brief recap of last week and then a little bit of a preview and talk about what we're going to be covering this week. So for last week you've probably noticed that I graded almost everything except for maybe half of the people I haven't gotten to, or the case study, the Stealing Way to a New Structure case study. But the interactive lesson I think went very well. People who participated, you did a great job of capturing the paradigms and really enabled me to put together a presentation that primarily used your words. So for now, that's the best way that I can think of to replicate the idea of having you guys participate in class and then present on your own without actually having you guys have to record. And I know everybody doesn't have the capabilities for that on their computer, so this seemed like the simplest way to kind of incorporate what you were learning with what we're presenting to the class. So hopefully you all had a chance to check out that lesson and appreciated it as well. So the grades for that have been up for quite a while. You also had a traditional discussion in which you had to incorporate lessons from the reading with your own thoughts and observations. Again, you guys did a really good job with that overall. It was clear that almost all of you had read the text and were using it to formulate your discussion post, but what I would appreciate you doing and what's really required of you to do is to take a direct quote from the text, put it in quotation marks, cite it with the author and the page number as part of the argument that you're building. While again it's clear that you're paraphrasing from the text and you can continue to do that, you need to work that direct quote in as well. It's a really good tool for writing academic papers, so it's a skill I want you to get used to for moving forward in your academic careers anyway. So I did not take points off for that this week because again, overwhelmingly it was clear that you had read, but if you check the rubric that's posted on Angel and also the directions on the syllabus, it does require you to use a direct quote. So going forward, that will be mandatory. And then finally, the Stealing Away to a New Structure case study. I love that case study because I think it really elucidates well what the impact of structure on an organization, how communication flows, how just by kind of like retooling and reconfiguring their structure, Excelsior Steel was able to get such vastly different results by allowing more open flow of communication, relying on technology. So I hope you all appreciated that and really were able to make the connection in your minds. So moving forward, one more thing I wanted to say. I did get the sense that some of you were not picking up on some of the ideas of structure that I talked about in the lesson, and I don't know if that's because it wasn't clear or if it's because some of you are skipping over the lesson, but it's really important that you keep up with viewing the lessons as well as doing the activities. And I do check that online in the reports section, but there are going to be some things that will be in lessons that I don't take from the text. So if you don't view the lessons, you'll be missing out on some of the material that you need for the activities and the discussion. Likewise, like is coming up in week 3, there will be some stuff in the readings that I don't cover in the lesson. So you really need to put both components, the readings and the lessons, together to get the full experience of the class. So do make sure that you're doing that going forward. In terms of this week, it's Tuesday, so the quiz is closed out, and you probably already noticed that this is the most reading-intensive week on the syllabus. Primarily, that's just because the topics had to go somewhere, and I think that globalization, technology, and networks really hang together well in terms of making sense in terms of one another. So you could argue, and you might have gotten this from the Schulte reading, which is the globalization reading that's located in the supplementary readings folder. Globalization in some ways would not be possible without technology. Technology also facilitates the growth of networks. So to put the three together really works well. We're also, because of technology and the proliferation of multinational corporations, we're relying on our networks more than ever. So I'm hoping that by putting these three topics together in one lesson, you'll really be able to get a feel for the interplay and how necessary one is for the other. So the video No Logo does a really good job of exploring the idea of globalization. It takes a more negative point of view, although hopefully when you read the Schulte reading, you'll get the impression that there's always two sides, or you'll make the connection that there's always two sides to the globalization argument. For example, is it liberating people in developing countries or further shackling them? Are we moving towards a more inclusive environment, an inclusive culture, or are we kind of limiting the entire world to a kind of like homogenized mixed culture? So these are all issues that we deal with in the lesson, as well as the video. They go together really, really well. So hopefully you'll really appreciate that no logo video. Additionally, for corporate communication majors in the class, the idea of branding and the idea of the separation of production and consumption. So how in the video Naomi Klein talks about, to create a Nike sneaker costs pennies, and the workers get paid so little to create the actual product, but the idea of Nike, so the spokespeople and the image that it evokes and the brand that it has become, is monetarily worth so much more than the product itself. So it's a really interesting idea that will help further your corporate communication, and possibly for business majors too. It's a great idea to grapple with, taking it away from OrgComm and then taking it back into your respective major courses. So anyway, I hope you enjoy that video as much as I do. There is a networks activity that first it was posted in a format that everybody couldn't open, so then when I switched formats, some of the text got cut out. It's now in a format that you should all be able to open with complete text. So if you've already opened it and were kind of confused by what you saw, revisit it, and it should be ready to go now. And then finally, there's the video on technology and the technology discussion. Technology discussion, probably nothing new to you. I'm sure you've grappled with the idea of freedoms that we gain and freedoms that we lose by using technology. But the longer I teach this course and the further into the technological landscape we go, the more you're unable to think of a world without the technology. So for example, I didn't have an email address until, I had one when I was in college, but I had no idea how to use email because nobody did. So I didn't really start to use email until I had my first postgraduate job. To give you some context, yet you have all, for the most part, never really known not having email since you were at an age where you could kind of type and get online. Likewise, AOL dial-up, quite new when I had just graduated college. You've never had to socialize or search for information without the internet. So it's a good discussion because it really gets you thinking about things that you might be taking for granted in day-to-day life, and especially going out into the workforce, where you position yourself on the idea of being accessible 24/7 versus not. So hopefully this is like a really good, certainly it's a good content week, and it applies a lot to how organizations function in a postmodern climate, but I think that you can really individualize everything that we're talking about this week as well and really get a lot out of it, and I hope that you're able to do that. That is it for now. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to check in with me. I know several of you have posted in the questions for your instructor discussion forum, so if anybody else has any questions, or again, if you come across interesting articles in the newspaper or just have a question that is kind of just more theoretical that you want to talk about, it's a great place to go and get in touch with me and also other students in the class. So that's it for now. I hope you're having a great week, and I will talk to you soon.